Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the L.A.M.E Book Club podcast. My name is Melissa.
I'm Ellie.
And this is episode 19, part 4 of our Iron Flame discussion, chapters 31 through 40. And I am very excited to jump into this.
We're ready.
A lot happens in these chapters.
I feel like it really picks up here. As I was going through the outline, I was so much more excited to do this than, not that I wasn't excited for the last couple episodes, but a lot happens now I can really speak my mind.
Now here's where it gets real. Before we jump into that, though, really quick, it was Christmas this last week. We took a week or two off from this, which is honestly really nice. I mean, I love doing this. It's so fun, but it was really nice to just focus on, I had a family come from out of town and be able to focus on that and really focus on my kids. And my older daughter is really she's getting to an age where she really understands everything that's happening. And it was a lot of fun to watch all that through her eyes. So that was great. How was your holiday, Ellie?
It was so good. I wanted to ask you, I mean, not that this is the reason for the season, but what was your favorite Christmas present this year? Are you wearing it?
I sure am. I got, if you're watching, you'll see it. If you're not, I got a Bezgayath War College sweatshirt.
I love it.
Thank you to my cousin, Noah. It was... I mean, I sent him the link for what I wanted, but it was still nice to get it.
Thank me.
Yeah, thank me. No, it's so comfy and it's just so fun. I've worn it now that we're past Christmas. I've worn it a couple of times in public, and I just like watching people who see it, and I can tell if they're like, what? And I'm like, all right, you're not my kind of person. And one time I saw someone read it and their eyes got kind of big and we made eye contact and I just nodded. I was like, yes. And that's my person.
That's awesome.
So it's fun. It's fun to be like, this is a secret way of yelling out loud. Have you read these books?
There's been so many times that I've seen people reading. I think I might have mentioned this, but this girl had this bright neon green book, and I'm like, that's A Court of Mist and Fury, and I would like to say something to her to talk about the book. She was sitting on the plane, and I almost tapped her shoulder and was like, hey, let's be friends.
Where are you at?
But the strong introvert in me yanked the reins and said, no, we don't need to discuss. And good thing it did, because she closed the book and it absolutely wasn't A Court of Mist and Fury. And could you imagine if some stranger was like, are you reading this? And it's not.
Oh my gosh, how funny if you're like, oh my gosh, I love the book. And she's like, me too. And then you start going, I can't believe all the just start talking about all the romance or not even romance, the fantasy aspect of it. And she just looks at you and is like,
Atomic
this
Habits.
is a self-help. Yes. This is a limited edition of Atomic Habits in the same shade of green. That's funny. What was your favorite gift?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked. So I have not shared the meat and cheese story yet, but at one point
No, but I think we've talked about how notoriously bad Grant is at giving gifts.
Yeah. At one point in my life, my husband got me 6,000 things of meat and cheese and thought it was for he was for real. He wasn't joking, and I could not believe my eyes. I cried a lot that Christmas. So we bring that up a lot because he's really bad at gifts.
My favorite part of that story, though, isn't, I mean, he got you meat and cheese because he thought he knew women, and that's funny in itself. But it's that your family asked him what you wanted for Christmas, and he was so sure that you wanted meat and cheese that your parents and everyone got you meat and cheese too.
My in-laws, my
that was
siblings,
the only
everyone got me meat and cheese.
You got for that Christmas was meat and cheese.
So that was a point of contention for so long in our marriage, because you don't know me at all. What do you think? Do you know anything at all? But this year, ladies and gentlemen, he has outdone himself. He is fully forgiven. So we do this budget where half the budget goes to my list. And this is safe. We've learned throughout the years of marriage. Half the budget goes to the list that I give him so that I will not be disappointed. And the other half he can freestyle. And so his freestyle this year, are you ready?
Oh, yes.
for the first time ever, my very first edition book in House of Sky and Breath, signed by the queen herself.
Oh,
Wow, this
wrong
is
page.
losing steam. This is losing steam.
It's so beautiful. Oh,
I couldn't believe it.
When you FaceTimed me,
in a good way this time.
I don't know. I mean, you were so excited about this. So I'm like, it's obviously good, but I was not expecting it to be that good. Like, that's next level. Oh my gosh.
So
he sure did. He sure redeemed himself.
It was fabulous. And a little tidbit: we are woodworkers. I've mentioned this in the past. We are building a home office / library right now. So this is the only book sitting in the library because it's the only place I can think to keep it safe while we're in the middle of construction. I know that sounds counterproductive, but it's safe in there. It's safe in there.
It sounds like the worst place it could be, but I also trust your judgment. So
I would never compromise this book. So those are my things for this year. For this,
that's fun.
This podcast, yeah. Do you have any New Year's resolutions?
I don't do resolutions. I've learned my lesson. I don't ever stick to them. I'm just bad at committing to things, especially when it's for the betterment of myself. I want to focus on taking better care of my physical health. I feel like I've done like a decent job at setting boundaries at setting boundaries and stuff to take care of my mental health this year, which is great. So like now I want to continue that on. So I did sign up for a gym membership yesterday actually, but but I'm not, if I think about it as like a New Year's resolution, then I'm not going to do it. So it's just like, I just have to make a lifestyle change. Like that's it. But outside of that, I just have my Goodreads books in a year goal. And that's it. That's the only goal that I am going to be setting for myself.
That's good.
And I haven't decided on a number yet. So we'll see. I want to be really advantageous, but I also know that I'm going to be reading Throne of Glass this year. So I have to take that into account.
That took me way too long. I'm a slow reader.
It's not that it's going to take me long. It's absolutely not going to take me that long. I know I'm going to be so wrecked that I might need to take a break and I'm going to have to account for some time of not reading.
I get so amped at the end of the book that I'll blitz through it because I'm like, I'm so close. But then when you know you have 7 more and they're bigger and bigger each time, really defeats the mind. But they're really good. I'm so excited for you to read them.
Yeah. Do you have any New Year's resolutions?
No. Let's move on.
All right.
Book news. You ready?
I'm so ready.
Okay. So, number 1. First and foremost, Ruthless Vows came out this past week.
Yes.
You have
I've started it. It's very good. Interesting.
I don't get mine until January 3rd, but that's okay because I have not yet read Divine Rivals. I've just started I finished the prologue.
Wow.
All right. Other books. I just finished Verity. That one was insane. I don't know if I liked it. I'm still digesting.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So that's a big deal. How far are you in Ruthless Vows?
Oh, I'm only like 8 chapters in. I just started it.
That's some good progress, though. Okay. Secondly, so there's an author. Her name's J.D. Linton. Okay. And she wrote this series called Rogan Era.
Okay.
And she was accused of just ripping off Rebecca Yarros because her character can wield lightning. And so she takes to Instagram to start defending her books. And so guess what happens? The queen bee herself, Rebecca Yarros, comments on the reel and directly replies saying that not only is lightning wielding a trope, but to claim originality, they would have to go back to Greek mythology. And then she also said she just bought J.D. Linton's book and can't wait to read it. And
that's so sweet.
That's so nice.
I was fully ready for you to say Rebecca Yarros took it upon herself to just verbally accost this lady in the comments. and I was like gonna go get
I'm
some
here
popcorn or something.
drama. No, I really liked that she was
I
ready to
appreciated
support
that
another
too.
female writer. It was nice.
Yeah. You know what though, honestly?
Hmm.
Good for her. Like you said, supporting women have to support women, especially authors and everything. But I don't know if I would consider lightning wielding to be a trope. Okay, I'm going to say something. I feel like everyone or the concept of tropes has been taken a little too far lately. I feel like anything now is a trope. Like, they did this sequence of events in a book and now it's a trope. Like, two books did it, it's a trope. I don't know. There's only so much you can be original with when you're writing books. Yeah. And so I don't know. Whatever. I don't know if I personally agree that lightning wielding is a trope, but I understand where she's coming from, and I agree. I mean, just because two people do a similar power, I mean, at that point, every fantasy book is copying each other, which they kind of are. Like, and that you can say, like, anyone that has vampires is copying Twilight then. And that's absolutely not the case. So, not that Twilight was even the first vampire book either.
But I couldn't name a vampire book that came before that because I don't care for any before
that. It was just a little baby.
Okay. And so then the last little book thing I have, it's not news, but I did see a theory on this and I thought, or not even a theory, a real thing. And I thought, very interesting. So this has to do with ACOTAR. Sarah J. Maas originally planned for Lucian to be Nesta's mate. Did we know that?
I saw that.
Yeah.
I don't know if we've talked about it, but I did see that. I think it was on Reels.
And she had planned this in the first book, which is why Feyre drew flames for Nesta, which makes so much more sense than the flames being death for Nesta.
I don't know. I still think it makes total sense. I think it was if she wasn't going to do it, it's a great pivot.
It works, but it doesn't make all
it doesn't fit as well. But then, knowing that makes me nervous that Elaine was going to end up with Tamlin.
Which I think she still might. We don't know if she's pivoted from that. And I guess hope not. You all know I hope for that. He needs to work on himself, but
I'm done with him. I am so ready for him to just not be a part of the story anymore.
Furthermore, this is the rumor, is that she initially meant for Cassian and Mor to end up together. But when she shifted gears with Nesta and Cassian, she wrote that awkward, like, Cassian as Mor's situation, which I didn't love, but it was a good pivot. So that is all I have for...
I didn't hate it. I just felt like it got dragged on a little too long.
I just thought it was weird. And, like, nothing really came from it, so I thought it was weird.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, they just kept talking about how Azriel's in love with Mor, and Mor doesn't see it that way, but then she slept with Cassian the one time. And, like, it was just the same thing being recycled over and over again. I'm like, all right, are we going to, like, build on this, or is it just going to go away? But,
yeah. So
I feel like I say a lot of things. I, like, absolutely am in love with Iron Flame and ACOTAR and Fourth Wing. Like, these were genuinely some of my favorite reads ever. But I also just if anyone does Enneagram, I'm an Enneagram 8. And I just like to play devil's advocate a lot too. So I feel like I talk about a lot of things that I'm like, this doesn't make sense. Even though while I'm reading it, I don't even question it. It's like as I'm processing it out loud, I'm like, actually, now that we're talking about this. But just want to caveat, I still love these books, even though I say things that I disagree with. Or say things that I don't think make sense.
I think that's healthy.
It doesn't matter.
Disagree. You don't have to like everything, but you can still love the books. It's a normal process. Mm-hmm. All right. Speaking of, let's move into Iron Flame. Oh, wait. Yeah. Say your piece.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Before we jump in, if you haven't already, follow us on Instagram. I have a TikTok. Honestly, I don't understand TikTok, like, from, like, a content creator standpoint. So feel free to follow us there, but I don't post very often. And if you haven't already, please leave us a review. It helps get our name out there. And we would really appreciate it. So with that, let's go ahead and jump in with chapter 31. That last episode ended on a cliffhanger. So the very beginning of this one, we find out that the person saving Violet is Jack freaking Barlow, which I don't know. I honestly kind of, even though the whole thing with him coming back in the classroom was like a big part of this book, I completely forgot that had happened at this point in the book.
How?
So
that was so big.
I know, but that was like 6 chapters ago. I've moved on.
Okay.
Like, so much has happened. Violet almost died. I'm not concerned with where Jack is. So when she's like, and I see the icy blonde hair and the bright blue eyes, I was like, whoa, who could this be? Yes, Ellie, I'm literally like, did Liam not die? I don't understand. And then when he even says Sorrengail, like a question mark, like he didn't know who he was saving. He was just helping someone. And he makes a comment like he just heard commotion. He was on on watch for First Wing. So he just heard something going on and came over. I don't know. What did you think about, like, because he's saying all the right things. He's saying, like, I'm not going to kill you because, like, you really find out the kind of person you are when you come face to face with Malik. Like, you gave me a second chance. I'm going to give you one.
And it was so hokey, being like, I owe you a life because you helped me realize that I was wasting. What? Boy, bye.
I know. I was like, you were too evil and too vindictive to just all of a sudden not just be like, yeah, I understand where you were coming from, but then to like save her life too. I'm like, there has to be more to this. Like, I wasn't buying it for 1 second.
Not one
Jack.
second.
Not one. But then Aya died for sure. It was confirmed. Yep. And that means literally half of the cadets that were in Resin are now donezo. So there's only 5 of them left. And my favorite 5 at this point. So now I'm getting concerned that something is going to happen to one of them.
Like I was like, oh man, that's terrible that they're dying. But we also don't read about them almost ever. I was even like, who's Aya? Once again, too many names. My small critique. But when they all died, I was like, okay, so we're back to where we started because we still only know about these characters. I didn't care too much. That's not true. I know it's mean.
I mean, it wasn't nearly as sad as Liam, but like, I feel like we kind of knew who Aya was at this point. Like, she had been around. I'd heard her name a handful of times.
Me. Not
the
I
only
said
person.
the pig.
It's not I said the fly.
You say this all the time, but it's not, and I will never change.
Okay. I don't know. I feel like the only person I didn't really know anything about before they died was the very first person that died with Solas's flames, Kieran, or Kieran. We had just learned his name. You could have
literally been like, hey, do you remember Kieran? Do you know how he died? And I would have been like, I didn't know there was a Kieran who died. See,
I mean, if you asked me that question, it would have taken me a second to remember, but I probably would have at some point.
Yeah. But that death was so gnarly. I do remember that. That was crazy.
Well, back to present in the book. Riddick comes then last second. Tairn shows up finally, but like they both knew he wouldn't have made it in time if Jack wasn't there. Riddick is freaking out. He's like, are you okay? What happened? Like, and then he lets her know that he was able to meet up with Jesinia, and Jesinia learned where the secret vault was and how to get past the wards, but she says that they would need someone from the king's bloodline, as it isn't just a regular underground vault, it's a royal vault. And here's where my Enneagram 8 is kicking in. When I honestly didn't even question this the first time I read it, but now that I'm like reading back and going over it again, doing this podcast, I was like, wait, first off, how the absolute heck did Jesinia figure this out? You're telling me the same archives that didn't even have a copy of the folklore that that Violet read as a child is keeping information on the secret underground royal vault that is also there? I'm calling BS on that one. And then like how she happened to figure out that it's
Rebecca.
That's how she's also figuring out that is warded or by like secret wards that only someone from the bloodline of the king can get past.
Look.
we've got to get this story going. Like the story has
I
to
understand.
go. So
I understand.
you just have to let things slide. Not everything, in my opinion, not everything needs like an intricate explanation to how we didn't know that this existed or whatever. We can just let it slide.
Well, see, I agree with that, but not this is a big shift in the book.
This is
because
a big
now
one.
it's like this is where they've been up until this. We're in chapter 31. The first 30 chapters they've been trying to find this book or find answers that they now know are in this vault. So this is about half the book in the making. I feel like the explanation of, oh yeah, there's a secret underground royal vault and you need someone from the king's bloodline. I just figured this out without you knowing. Like, and they've read half the books in there already. I don't know.
But she also didn't know to go looking for that. Like,
I
wasn't
agree,
it Violet
exactly.
who said, so,
No. Justinia's the one who told them Riddick is the one who read about the underground vault in
that's what it was, yes. So she didn't know
office.
to go look for an underground vault. Like, you don't know how to tip books backwards to find hidden doors until you know to tip books backwards to find hidden doors.
Well, I do understand that, but just because they know that it exists now doesn't mean the information on it is going to be readily available. That's my thing. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a good place to start. And
just my 2 cents on this. Let me explain my thoughts. Thank you.
Yeah.
And then that's the end of the 31st chapter. So chapter 32, it end scene, shift camera, lights up. It's completely different setting. Yeah. 3, 2, 1. Action. No, so then Xaden, I love this though. Xaden and Violet are in her room and she's just like, say something. Don't be mad at me. Then we're going to find out eventually. And Xaden's just quiet. And he learned that Rionic, Riddick, and Sawyer, and Quinn, because of Imogen, now know exactly what's going on. They don't know anything about Auracia or anything like that, but they know about the Venom and the Wyvern and the weapon smuggling. And I just love how this conversation played out and how broody Xaden was, how firm he was, but he wasn't really yelling or like outwardly freaking out. He was very calm, but very serious.
They really get to write the character of a male protagonist when they get angry. Like we can find out, and angry not so much at enemies, but at loved ones, like how Tamlin just freaking almost punched Feyre. Ooh, we didn't like him after that.
Sure
Xaden's just angry, but not yelling, but
still insulting. In control.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
That's why we like him more now.
We sure do. And I either read it somewhere or I saw a TikTok about it or something where that talked about how there's a lot of stuff in a book that I will put up with from a male character that in real life I would be absolutely never. No way. But in a book, it's like, yes, I love this. Give me more. This conversation is that. Like, if in real life, if my husband, to be fair, like the scene is I had done something that he specifically asked me not to. But if the way he handled it was to sit me down, be standing, so like physically towering over me, telling me to stop talking and listing out all the ways that like my plan wasn't thought through, I would lose my mind. I'd be like, what do you know? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you're stupid, and walk out. But in this book, I'm like, yes, Zaddy, handle this. Handle.
I knew you would.
I had to, because that's what I was thinking. I was handle this situation any way that you want, right here.
And he did.
He sure did. Yeah. Loved it. I'm just saying, loved it. Hate it in real life. Loved this scene in the book. Then Violet kisses him, chooses him. He chooses her. We love love.
We love love.
And then they're gonna go talk to Aaric because he is the royalty. King. They need him.
Yeah.
And they go to open the door, and Sawyer and Riddick were already standing there with Bodhi and Ree and Aaric, and like there's like a Quinn. I think there's like 1,000 people.
The door. Yeah.
But they can't hear anything because it's sounded. And I just love that Xaden's like, the room's soundproof, you asshole. Like, or whatever. But they pull him in. They start to explain to Aaric, like, we need your help, but once we tell you, we can't take it back, so I need you to, like, hear us out.
Yeah, but this is when Aaric reveals that Xaden killed his brother.
Yes.
And so he's, I'm not gonna help you at all. And
well, it's not that. At first he thinks Xaden's there to kill him. He's like, all right, it's my turn now. And Violet's like, no, hear us out. And then he's like, why do you think I'd ever help you? You don't even know what he did to Alec.
Yeah.
And then that's how the
stormed
chapter
out,
ends.
right? And then they brought him back in.
No, he doesn't storm out. He
I remember thinking to myself,
so honestly,
what a baby.
I don't know. This guy killed your brother. You'd probably be a little resentful.
I'd be mad. But Violet explained what was going on. So in the
not first.
Happening,
No.
Maybe that's it.
She's like, we need your help. It's the same thing. Once we tell you, you're not going to be able to like go back. And then as she's about to start explaining, that's when he goes into the whole, he wants to kill me.
Gotcha.
Just like he did with Alec. He's like a prick, blah, 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 whatever. And then the line is Violet's like, well, did not see that coming. And then there's like the 3 dots, and then the next paragraph is like 3 hours later after explaining everything, he's in.
I see.
So
I thought in my mind, they explained, he storms out, they brought him back. I think I even reread because I was confused on the sequence of events. And then they convinced him. And I thought, ugh, but
no, well,
right.
he didn't ever.
I can get
they had
behind
to
this.
physically.
I let that slide.
They had to physically pull him in because of the wards on her room. So Violet had to individually pull everyone in, and he was the last one to get pulled in. Okay. But it wasn't because he was running away. It was just because her room was warded.
Yeah, I don't think I was confused about that portion. But all right.
But then all it took for him to agree was to tell him that it would piss off his dad and that it was going against what his dad wanted. He's like, I'm in.
Which is so teenager.
Immediately, I know. Immediately, they just go. They go to, like, I think if I were Aaric, I would have been like, I just learned all this stuff. Can I have a little bit to digest this information?
Wait.
Maybe let's
do it tomorrow.
I thought they came
up with a plan. I thought they came up with a plan.
They tell him the plan. No,
they already came up with the plan.
Yeah, as they're asking him to help, they're telling him what they're about to do. Yep. And so then they
everyone.
Just go.
I've read a book in between this, so my mind is jello.
So then they go down there. There's like 8 of them, I think.
Yeah.
And they're all there specifically, 1, because they know what's happening, but 2, because of their signets. They like have a plan for all of them. But then when they show up, Jasenia is like, no, only 4 of you. Otherwise it's too suspicious, which makes sense. But also, side note, I skipped over this in my notes. I meant to say it like 10 seconds ago, but everyone knows. I don't even know how to say the name. Nasia? That one scribe?
I don't know who that is, man.
Okay, so the scribe that is guarding the archives. He's been mentioned before. I thought it was a always lady. Well, I think they say he. I might, whatever. They are always guarding the door. I literally don't understand why this person is still a guard when it like they mentioned multiple times, and they even said right on cue they're asleep. Like if it's like a known fact that this person just is a sleepy baby.
Wait. I want to bring something up. Why in movies, in books, and shows is the guard's biggest weakness falling asleep? Can we not come up with
the easiest writing?
Else? I know.
It's the easiest way.
It's no matter what. We'll slip past him once he's asleep because they will be asleep.
I'm like, this is your job, homie. You should be asleep during the day. Stay awake during this. I don't know. I'm just like, if it's a known, like they anticipated this guard being asleep, and that was phase 1 of their plan. I'm like, if it's so well known,
shift, so I don't know.
But if it's so well known that this person's a sleepy baby, why keep putting them on guard duty? Anyways, again, just I have to call that out.
It's so true. I wouldn't personally hire someone that couldn't do their job, and
exactly.
But that's just my humble opinion.
But who's to say? I've never run a company or a business or been in charge of staffing employees.
How it works.
Maybe having someone be terrible at what they're doing is the point.
Is key. Who would have thought? All right.
So Xaden, Aaric, Violet, and Imogen go with Justinia. The vault, they go through the archives, making like 1,000 million turns until they go into this classroom. She finds the lever behind some bookcases, and that's when the corner of the room starts to separate, and there's like a super steep spiral staircase.
Yeah.
And I don't know about you,
something.
But keep going.
Oh, okay.
No, go ahead. Sorry.
Okay. So at this point, we didn't talk about it, but I do remember that they brought that. You know how Justinia said we can bring 4 people. Imogen was one of them because of her signet. And I don't know if we realized what her signet was here or they told us earlier, but I was reminded.
They talk about it here.
That her signet is she can erase short-term memories. Do we think that's going to play into a lot more of the next book, or that it already has been playing in now that she's been using her signet? And also, she's a baby writer, so her signet's going to just grow and grow. But it's still going to grow stronger and stronger to the point maybe she can erase longer memories. And do we think she's been doing this?
100%. I do think it's going to come in. I mean. So far, Rebecca Yarros doesn't write anything without it having some kind of meaning. So absolutely, it's going to come into play later, especially because they made such a big deal out of between the 8 of them. The 4 of them had like this quote unquote specific signets that they needed. Yeah. More so than the others. So yes, 100%. Interesting take though on if she's already been using it and we just didn't know, because that's kind of like a Dane move. If she has been. I mean, I guess it's only a Dane move if she uses it on, like, Violet or whatever and not on the enemy. But that is kind of interesting to think about. Yeah. I don't know. I'll bet she has been. I'll bet it comes out that it's like, oh, yeah, and actually I didn't die because Imogen wiped the component's memory before my challenge or something. And if that's the case, well, I guess it's short term, not long term. Never mind. Yeah. Interesting. I hadn't thought about that.
Somebody actually had brought that up on our Instagram page on one of the comments, and I was chatting with them about it and said I would mention that. So shout out to them.
Yeah. That's cool. Well, I was about to say something a lot less cool and a lot less.
All right. Let's hear it.
You know, when the room splits, like they pull the lever, the room splits and the staircase came up. I don't know why, but I instantly thought of Spy Kids. It felt like a very Spy Kids thing to happen. Ew, but like OG Spy Kids, not any of these dumb spin-offs.
No, not the new ones. Well, I haven't seen them. I can't judge. But
I haven't either.
Number 1, Spy Kids 3D. One of my favorite movies growing up. Loved it. Number 2, the thumb one, where the
Thumbkins.
Ew.
That's the first one.
Disgusting.
Yeah. I thought that was hilarious.
Who sat around the table and they were like, that's the move. Thumbkins.
It makes sense, though, with the other things that were happening. I don't know. I was all about it. I thought it was hilarious. Ugh. My favorite phalange is the thumb. So I'm just kidding. Of course, I'm just kidding. Yeah. I'm just kidding. I thought it was hilarious. I actually want to be a thumb kid next year for Halloween. That might be my next reveal.
What?
Shock factor. Specifically for shock factor.
Oh my gosh. Wait. Hold on, everyone. Hold on. You do that. You do that. And I'll be, what's his name, when he turns into like the hands Floop. All over the face. And we'll get on the podcast and you'll be there and I'll turn like this. that we have to do.
That's it. All right. Okay. You heard it here first. We're planning ahead. Next 10 months, check back. 2024. Anyways, not to derail completely. So they get down there and Xaden notices there's 2 guards in the hallway and quickly rectifies that issue. But again, I have to call something out. You're telling me.
No, I thought this too. I know where you're going. And I thought it too.
No one was supposed to know where this vault is. So much so that there was probably no literature on it. It was still jury's out on how Justinia figured it out. Yet, they have 2 people constantly guarding this royal vault that just walk through the archives and disappear. I don't know. Do they pee?
Go pee?
Do they not? Yeah. Do they just stay there forever? Are they just confined to a life in this hallway, guarding this underground secret royal vault?
The same thing.
And if not, how is it not sus to everyone else in the archives that 2 guards walk in the morning, are not seen, and then walk out again at night?
I think the title of this episode just needs to be, we'll let it slide.
True. Also,
when you make a sticker, we can just let it slide.
They're so adamant about I didn't even think about this until just now. They're so adamant about the timing of having to leave, because once the archive doors lock, it changes in there for the books. It's literally going to kill you.
Mm-hmm.
But you're telling me these guards would have been fine in this hallway? I think they did say oh wait, no, I take that back. They did say that as far as they know, the wards
you have
stop.
to go in. Yeah,
the wards stop at that secret bookcase.
Yep.
So I take back what I just said, but I leave the first part about you're telling me no one thought this was weird. That there's just guards down there. And back to the story. Aaric goes rogue once they're down there and just yanks Violet through the ward with him.
Yeah.
And I started to get nervous at that point that he was playing them and that she was gonna get hurt or get in trouble.
That's the skeptic in you. I was so trusting. I was like, he needs her, because how is he supposed to know what to look for? They need more than one person in there. It made all the sense in the world to me.
And the next sentence he explains that. But for about 10 seconds, I was breathing heavy because I was nervous.
It takes you 10 seconds to read a sentence. How embarrassing.
This pisses off Xaden. Because he can't go through the wards. Which made me even more nervous for the 10 seconds it takes me to read the sentence. Miss, it took me 6 months to read Throne of Glass.
It's embarrassing for me too.
I'm adding you. You're joining me in the embarrassment. They find the journals after lots of searching, and there's another set of wards that burn/blister Aaric's hand, because that one knows he's not the king. And that I had major flashbacks to Feyre and Amren trying to get Amren.
Oh, there it is. So good though.
Trying to get the book out of the summer court. How she was able to slip past like the first her magic. She was able, but then not the second one. Was like, you're not Tarquin.
You know, I didn't even think of that once.
It totally gave me that same.
Yeah.
I mean, it was slightly different because Aaric really had the bloodline of the king in him.
Yeah.
Feyre was just pretending to be Tarquin. But I don't know. I made it through the first one, but then the second one stopped him, and then his hand got I don't know. I was instantly had flashbacks to that moment. I kind of cool. It was kind of nostalgic for me. I kind of liked it. And then they start booking it back because the archive's closing. I had in my mind, there was an announcer on the loudspeaker, almost like a grocery store. It's like, fries will be closing in 10 minutes. I know that isn't happening, but that's kind of how instead it's just Imogen being like, we got to get out of here, 2 minutes. And somehow they run through the entire archives and make it out within 2 minutes.
I do think my BPM was sitting at 150 this entire chapter, because this was so stressful. It was elevated. I don't like when things are timed.
Yes,
it stresses me out.
I know, I agree.
What's that movie that I absolutely love?
But I hate.
But I hate the piano. Interstellar. So the whole thing about that, when it's like they gotta get back, I don't like feeling rushed. So that's my 2 cents.
You really hated this then.
No, I did. I loved it, but I hated it.
Yeah. So then they all kind of go their separate ways. Rhee and Riddick take Aaric to get not mended, but someone owes Violet a favor to help him, so they go to take him there.
Do you remember who that was and what the favor was? Because I didn't want to go back and read.
Dyer was the one who owed her a favor, but I don't remember
why.
what specifically, like what she did that caused her to be in that position. Like what Violet did
if you're
to give her
listening
a favor.
and you know, let us know, because I really would like to remember, but I didn't want to do the work to find out.
We're just a bunch
Classic
of chumps. I thought it was really cool though, this part, how they, even though they couldn't go in with them, they still used everyone's signets to their strength. Like Quinn astro projected herself, and then also Rhea and Violet to make it like other people have quote unquote seen them walking around. And Bodhi and them go and like make a scene so that people remember them. And so I don't know, I thought that was all cool. But then Xaden and Violet go to the courtyard, and Xaden leaves because he has to have time to go split he takes one of the journals, go take it to Brennan in Eratia before he has to be back the next day in Samara. And I was sad that he was leaving early, but it made sense. Then he wasn't going to be searched. So he leaves. And then Nolon.
This is where I had heart palpitations.
I thought we were good.
Yes, this is. Yes.
Yeah. I thought we were fine because they made it out of the vault, but should have known. We're never fine. Violet's never okay in this story. Nolon just pops out of nowhere and kind of scares her, but she's like, it's a welcomed face, my old friend, buddy pal Nolon, who just casually has lemonade with him.
Not today. And that's the thing. I think we even addressed this earlier. When someone just, it was in when they were doing the
RSC.
RSC. When someone just offers you water, you don't just drink it with no consequences.
Especially when you're already thirsty. It mentions, I was so parched from all the running. Like,
how's about you bring your own? Or don't run.
You just wait. Just don't run. Just walk out of the archives.
So he's like, would you like some delicious lemonade?
She's like, even goes, I remember it's your favorite. I'm like, Nolon, he's a walking red flag right now.
His first time tricking someone. Exactly. I remember this was your favorite lemonade that I brought to the courtyard in my satchel.
Also, tell me if you thought this was true too. He even says, he goes, Jack Barlow mentioned he saw you in the courtyard, so I thought I'd come out here and say hi. Why was he, one, why is he listening to Jack Barlow? And two, Jack was never redeemed for saving her life. I'm still suspicious of him. So that makes me even more on edge with whatever's about to happen.
Look, I've never personally loved the idea of Nolon. So
I honestly haven't either. He's always been whatever. Because
he's been weird.
He's always been like, Violet, I love you so much. I hate to see you hurt. But his actions have said differently this entire book.
Oh yeah. You know who Nolon reminds me of? I think his name's actually Varys in Game of Thrones. The bald guy. Yeah.
Yes. The eunuch.
That's Nolon. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, you're right. He has eyes everywhere.
Yeah.
Oh, I actually kind of picture I picture Nolon looking more like a 1960s British professor versus a bald monk, but
no, Nolon never had hair.
I can see it now. Oh. Okay. Well, we were right. Our suspicions were confirmed because Nolon, I hated this. It made me so angry. He says, and I quote, I never like to see you hurt, but I can't protect you from the consequences of your own actions when you risk the safety of every civilian in this kingdom. So I'm like, okay, Nolon freaking knows the truth then too. Like who, at this point I'm thinking so many more people actually know, because I thought it was just leadership. But I don't think Nolan's considered leadership, is he?
I don't think so.
I thought he was just like top dog mender, not.
Yeah.
He's still technically a writer. You can't be a mender without a signet.
Right.
He's a writer.
He's got.
I don't know.
Yeah. Look, whatever, Nolon.
And then,
I don't.
Of course, freaking Varys walks out and is like, well, Sorrengail, what have you gotten yourself into? And that's how this chapter ends. And I was fuming.
Rightfully so. It is.
But
that was a lot.
The beginning of chapter 35, the little top opener, it says, the only signet more terrifying than an intrinsic is a truthsayer, and yet we let them live. I realize this is foreshadowing for this next chapter. However, lots of people have been talking about Violet having a second signet because she has 2 dragons.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think this might be being a true? I don't know, being a true Sarah. Do you think that might be her second signet? I feel like it's a stretch.
No,
but
I have my own theory on what hers is, but I know we will actually. I'll tell you in this chapter, but I want to get to that part first.
Okay.
However, I think that
I have like 6 theories.
Whoa! Spoiler. No. 1, we don't know what her signet is. 2, Rebecca Yarros, though, she said it was like very much hinted at. Yeah. Throughout the entire book. So we should be able to guess. And so here we are. We're going to guess.
I don't think she doesn't necessarily say we should be able to guess. She just says it's not anything that you haven't already like either read about or been hinted towards. Mm-hmm. It's not like going to be like come out of left field. Like she can shape that. Well, I don't know. She can fly. She is a dragon. That's her second signet. No. Anyways, Violet wakes up in the brig. We have RSE round 2, except worse.
Except it's just Violet now.
Yeah. Varys and Nolon come in, and Nolon tries to get Violet to talk so that Varys doesn't step in. He says that Markham sounded an alarm the second that the wards were tripped, which, again, also to me, I'm like, really? Whatever. I'm letting it slide, but I didn't, like, you're telling me that the head of the scribe quadrant, I guess he's kind of king of the archive, so I guess that kind of makes sense, but I don't know. It just bothered me. If they needed someone with a royal blood to get through it, why is it trigger when someone with royal blood went through it? That's what bothers me.
They bring it up. They're like, how did you get in without royal blood? How did you do it? Because they don't know about Aaric.
Well, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Like, they did the right things to get through the wards, so why was it still triggered that the wards were, like, crossed?
So true.
That's why I'm like, natural. I mean, it makes sense. They can't get to this part of the book without them knowing that they went through. Yeah. So
I guess maybe King, what's his name? King Kaori? No, that's not him.
No, it starts with a T, but I can't remember how to say it. Tauri?
Sure.
I don't know.
If he went through the wards though, maybe they would also go off but more people would know that he was there, so it would make sense. I guess. Maybe it's just like an all the time alarm.
An all the time alarm. The all the time alarm was triggered, Markham. Look. Anyways. Then he says that Markham's on an alarm. The royal wards were tripped, and he saw Violet with a scribe satchel and figured it would be best to see. Again, my 2 cents on this. Why the heck would he just casually be walking around with laced lemonade if he didn't already know? Like, as far as we know, Markham just told him, hey, the wards were tripped. Just be on the lookout for anything weird. So that means, all right, let me grab this spicy juice, see what I find. You know what I mean? Like, was that his first line of defense? Or did he also just casually happen to have it with him? Didn't like that.
Yeah, I don't like that.
But he also tells Violet that Jack told him he saw Violet in the courtyard. And I don't know if that was just to, like, make it seem more plausible. But now when they're in the brig, he tells Violet, and I quote, he saw her standing in the courtyard with a scribe satchel. Yeah. So was he BSing about Jack telling him? Or is he lying to her now? Like I don't know. It just...
I don't know that
feels
matters,
like very... It does to me, because I'm like, it's so faulty in the logic of him lacing her lemonade and getting her to this point. If he's, I don't know, it just doesn't make any sense to me. It doesn't make any sense. I didn't like it.
I personally didn't go that far into it. I was like, yep, checks off. Let's go. Move on.
It made me mad. I'm like, this. Anyways,
so then Varys starts.
Peppering with questions.
And then there's a girl there that's a truth teller. So Violet has to be super, which I really like this. She has to be very particular with her responses. So she's not answering things like yes and no. She's kind of like asking a question back, or like, no, I was.
He's like who?
I've never read this book, because she never read the book. She just had it.
Who took the journals? I alone put the journal into the satchel.
Yeah.
True.
True.
Do you think that I would literally die? Like, at this point, there's no way I'd be able to word things in a way
No, I could.
That
I could. And I would
could
love
not.
for you to
I
test
would be
me
dead.
because I could.
I can't
Leaving
even
your
think
question.
of a way to test. No, I literally can't. Like, that's how bad I would be in this situation.
Wow.
Varys gets annoyed, slaps her across the face, and orders Nolon to leave, and then has the truthsayer girl, I think Nora is her name. He orders her to round up the rest of the cadets to see who has burns on their hands.
And
So
as
then I
they're
started getting
alone,
nervous. Yes.
he dislocates her fingers and breaks them, which is arguably
it's so
one of
messed
the
up.
worst methods of torture.
Okay, also, I had a hard time reading this, and I realized it's just like one sentence, and then the chapter like fades out.
Yeah.
Three dots again. Next
You can't do
paragraph. We're
bones?
like moved on. I don't do bones. I can handle bodily fluids. I can handle puke. Whatever. None of that stuff. Do I want to see it? No. But like, it doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
The second
bones
like
mess me up too.
a limb is like in a direction it shouldn't be, or something's popping out that is white.
It's like
I
in TV
get queasy
when it's the noise too. I just
yes, the noises.
don't like it.
That video that went viral about that college basketball kid who just landed on his leg wrong and it like compound fractured.
Yeah.
I couldn't. Or like the MMA fighter, like same thing, like, or UFC, I don't know, some fighter just leg. I wanted to, I want to throw up. I can't even talk about it. I want to throw up thinking about it. So we're moving on.
Right, we're moving on.
But then this part.
She hears Liam.
And I got so excited. I didn't think he was alive.
No.
But I'm like, oh, yes, her imagination is bringing back someone who can comfort her. What a sweet thing for her brain to do. Except I am thoroughly convinced
that
he was, not that he was there, but that he was really conscious. And I agree. This was another theory I had about her signet. I have lots of different theories.
You knew what I was going to say?
Obviously.
Oh,
I did know because I also went there.
So it's okay. Number one, why would you add this in if this wasn't alluding to something more?
Exactly.
Because they never bring it up again. Is she already? Rebecca Yarrow said she's hinted at it. This is the big freaking hint. 2, 3.
Sure is.
Here it is. It's not even a 3. It's just my statement. I think Violet's second signet is she can talk to the dead, which I think is going to help in the long run with finding a resolution for the venom because her dad, who either may or may not be alive, he says he's not alive, but we also have theories. I think if he's not, she's going to be able to get some answers from him. Yeah. The book says a lot of things. Yeah. So
I'm gonna, because you brought this up, I've gone back and forth on whether I think her dad is dead or if he's venom dead, and like I think I've landed on, which means it's probably the opposite because I tend to just be terribly wrong, but I think I've landed, like you said, on him being dead. He's not a venom. He might have been at one. He might have been starting to turn into one. I don't know, but I do think he is no longer. I don't think he's a venom. But I do think, which we'll get into this more later, I do think that Xaden's mom has something to do with the venom.
So I couldn't decide if it's Violet's dad turned venom, Xaden's mom turned venom, or Nolon, Tairn's original writer.
Yes, I recently saw something about that too.
Yeah.
But
we'll talk about that more, I think, at the end of when we do Iron Flame, like our theories on what's next, but I'm like so wrong usually when it comes to guessing what I think happens, which is why I have probably 3 or 4 theories on what Violet's second signet could be. This is my favorite though, the like talking to the dead. I don't know. I also wasn't sure if it was talking to the dead or like legit bringing them their consciousness back. I guess it's kind of the same thing. I don't know. I wasn't sure if like the straight up like talking to the dead was where I landed, but it definitely had to do with getting information from people that were no longer. That's my favorite one, because if that's the case, I'm hoping Papa Sorrengail, we learn more about him, can lay down some knowledge.
Hope Liam can come, is like still like a reoccurring character in the book.
Yep.
Which I would be forever grateful for.
That's how we feel too.
Yes. But anyways, back to this. One of the things that really solidified for me that it's not just her imagination, but it's like he is responding out loud, again, just to her, but about things that she's thinking.
Yeah.
Like, she thinks in her head, like, I'm in so much pain, whatever, this hurts. And he out loud is like, I know, but you're so strong. Like,
yeah.
I don't know. Because even though he's potentially dead, but potentially there, like.
Well, and she says in her head, I think, like, maybe Malik has sent me a kindness. And he says out loud saying, like, oh, I'm not wandering. Like, Malik doesn't do kindness and I'm not wandering. I'm exactly where I need to be. Yeah. So, makes you think.
But even though he, like, is dead but maybe not, but or like there for her, he still can't communicate with her the way in like the same way Xaden can.
Yeah.
So I like that it still had to be out, quote unquote, out loud for him, even though no one else can hear it. Violet overhears Varish and another person talking about how they didn't find any cadets with hand injuries, so Aaric's in the clear. Love that. He also, that her professors are wondering where she is since she missed class, so she knows that it's Monday now.
Yeah.
And it was Saturday night when they went to get the book. So just for time reference, Varish tells Violet that his Signet, which is classified, but it's that he can tell what other people's weaknesses are, and that he couldn't tell with her at first because her shields were so strong. But then now at this point, her Signet's been cut off. They gave her that serum again. Well, Nolon did.
Nolon, yeah.
And so her Signet's cut off. She's like broken and bruised and dislocated and all the things. So he can see what her weakness is now, and it's her loved ones. Which, are we really surprised by that? We all knew.
No.
Which honestly, yeah, we did. I mean, I feel like.
No, I'm saying I'm not surprised.
Oh, sorry.
Don't yell at me.
It shouldn't take someone with a classified Signet to figure that out, though.
I know. Do you have eyeballs? I think we honestly, all know.
Are you listening? Okay. She learns that he's setting a trap for Xaden, though, that she's not really who he wants. He doesn't mind breaking her, and he hates her, but he wants to lure Xaden there so that he can catch him breaking his post, which would then be breaking the codex and give him a reason to put him in the brig. Yeah. Because Violet's mom's a rule stickler, and he had to wait for Violet to trip up to even get her in this position. But Violet is badass, and even though she's barely able to speak, she asks if Solus likes hiding, because she knows that even though Varish is hunting Xaden, Tairn is hunting Solus, and she might die, but he sure will
definitely die. Yeah.
I was like, chills.
I love and hate. I mean, we've talked about it. I love and hate the bond between the dragons, but it's like if one dies, the other dies. It doubles the defenses on one hand. It's high stakes, but it's extra vulnerable on the other hand. So
exactly. High stakes.
Yeah. High stakes.
I don't know. I liked it because it was then you have more people to worry about. So more reasons for your heart rate to skyrocket.
And did it ever?
At one point, too, Nora says to Varish, and I quote, "We could bring Jack Barlow in if this doesn't work. God knows he's been waiting for retribution." Then Varish says, "Tempting. I'm sure he'd be happy to find out a new and inventive ways to motivate her, but we can't trust him to kill her. Can't trust that kid for anything, really, now, can we? Too unpredictable."
I'd like to.
That right there sealed Jack Barlow's fate for me.
Can't trust him not to kill her.
Did I say it wrong?
Yeah, but that's okay.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks for correcting me. But back to my slimy Jack. I knew he wasn't no good. Didn't believe it for 1 second. I still don't understand why he saved her life, but...
No. At this point in the book specifically, it gives me pause because I was wondering, well, maybe they don't know Jack. Like, they don't know that he saved her. Nobody really knows that except for Violet's friends. So they might just think, oh, yeah, she killed him. He's dying to kill her. Well, I don't know. So I wasn't one way or another still with Jack. I was like, I don't trust him, but I don't know if we are back to that.
I see where you're coming from. My thoughts don't change. Still didn't trust him.
Solid as a rock.
This still was all. I appreciate that you have your different thoughts, but mine are the same. I don't know. I just still, it was too.
Yeah.
They spend more time with Jack though than Violet does. So I'm like, even if they don't know that he saved her, they're hearing him talk about other things. They spend more time with him. I'm like, obviously, other things he's saying is still feeding this thought. I don't know.
But still, far more dramatic than Jack incoming is Dane.
Varys twists the situation and tells Dane that she's trying to take down Navarre's wards, and that's why she was getting the. And I know we talk about how good of a bad guy Varys is.
He's a bad guy.
And he's such a good bad guy. I hate him so much.
I know.
And okay, when I'm rereading this though, now I don't even remember. I read through this so fast, and my mouth was ajar, like I was not taking in the details. So now that I'm going through it again, I think that I don't know if I thought that Dane was like playing it up, like pretending to be mad with her and everything, but I think he really was.
No, I absolutely think he really was.
I think at first I thought he was pretending, and I'm like, wow, he's doing a really good job. Violet really believes him. But like, it makes me sad to think that he really hated her that much. And I understand he had his own reasons to be like hurt by their friendship or whatever, but I don't know. It hurt my heart a little bit to think that he would have legit read her memories and told Varys. I know he doesn't know, but
no, but he knows her loyalties are with Ryerson. He knows that. He's like, she's told him
I know he doesn't know the extent of what all is happening, and that Varys is actually not a good guy. But
exactly. But also, like, just look at it from Dane's point of view. Varys is one of the like leadership. He's part of leadership for Navarre, so he's by default have to trust him. You have to trust him if you were Dane. And Violet has sided with who everyone assumes is the enemy, and she's in love with him, which can distort your judgment, whether we like it or not. It can. And so to Dane, I think it would make all the sense in the world that, okay, yeah, she's really turned sides now, and now I do need to do my duty to Navarre and read her mind and use my signet against her.
I know. It just makes me sad.
I mean, we hate it as the reader, but like, I feel like it's so much more understandable in Dane's perspective than it would be like for someone like Tamlin, how we were like, you know what's going on. You knew you had all the information. This is ridiculous.
That's true. Mm-hmm. That's very true. Well, so then as Dane's about to read her mind, we hear someone saying that Violet's mom is calling all leadership. There's like issues at the border. And then Varys is like, oh, that must have something to do with why Xaden deserted a couple days ago. So my intrigued is peaked now, because I'm expecting Xaden to show up at any moment, but we now know it's a trap. So I'm freaking out at this point reading this, because every part of me wants him to save Violet, but at the same time I don't want him to save her at his own expense, and I'm torn. But then Liam advises her to think of what she wants Dane to see, not what she's searching for. Which made so much
sense to me. I was like, why are we so scared of Dane? Because if he can read, like I thought about this, before Liam even mentioned it, if he can see memories, remember what actually, like he's only ever going to get the truth. So why are you scared? He'll see. Who knows what's going to happen? He doesn't know about the venom. He will now.
Well, Varys makes a comment. He says, think wards, search for any memories with wards. So I think he's just not strong enough in his signet yet to control it as much. But if he was like full-fledged, I think you could try and stop him, but he would know how to search through your memories to find what he's looking for. So I think this only worked because he doesn't have total control over it yet. But I agree, it does feel like fairly obvious. Like, well, just show him what you want him to see. Yeah. But it works. And honestly, the way Rebecca wrote the scene of Violet forcing Dane to see everything that happened in Resen and like feel her pain of Liam dying and feel her pain of the last few days of being tortured was poetry.
I loved how
was so emotional reading it, even the second time.
I loved how Rebecca made it seem like Violet took control. Like Dane was in control in this moment, but Violet like took hold of him and forced him to see everything that she. And so I love that the control aspect shifted, and we were like, freaking get all the knowledge to him, remember everything, and you're just kind of like hoping that all of this is working, that he sees enough, that she showed him enough. Yeah, I remember being this was a very impactful chapter or paragraph for me.
Yeah. But then it seems like all hope is lost because Dane is actually a very good actor. And he wants to compare the knife that Varys took from Violet to what he saw. Which, to me, if I was Varys, I'd be like, why? You saw it in the memories. But fortunately, Varys is stupid and gives it to him.
Yep.
To his own demise.
He just desserts.
He puts it up against Violet's neck, and you think that's it. Like, he didn't matter. He saw what he needed to see. He confirms for Varys that they're smuggling the weapons. And I'm like, crap, it didn't work. I'm like, Xaden needs to get here now. But then he turns around and just stabs Varys. And I was like, thank goodness. The Dane that I had been assuming was there showed up. But then also Xaden shows up and killed Nora, which, big fan of just this next few. Well, that's the end of that chapter. The beginning of this next chapter. The Xaden comforts Violet, and I melt as one does because it's just sweet. Garrick shows up.
Can I ask something real quick?
Of course, you sure may.
Doesn't Violet stab Varys? Because doesn't Xaden say?
Right. Yeah. Well, here's the thing. They say that Violet does, but I'm like, she really didn't. She could hardly move. Dane did like the kill shot. Violet, quote unquote, just did the final blow, but she couldn't even do it. Xaden helps her do it.
Not the imagery, but the meaning behind this, where Xaden says, like, if you don't do this, you will always be scared of him. Like, you need to know that he's done. Doesn't he, though? He says, like, you need to do this to have some closure and to, like, really understand that he's gone.
He doesn't say that. He, I literally just read this, let me tell you. He says it's Violet should be the one to do this because he's been putting her through all this crap. Like, she should be the one who she deserves to kill him after what she's been through, is more what is happening here. It's not that you'll never believe he's dead if you don't kill him. I mean, that's true. Yeah. But she also she could be, as long as she's in the room and watches him die, she'll know he's dead. It's a little bit, they want to give her the power to take his life when he's taken so much from her over this last year.
Well, not easily found in Reddit, so let's move on.
Okay. Well, Xaden killed like everyone getting down there to see her. So they start leaving. Garrick's like, hey, we have a problem. Come to find out, Mama Sorrengail has him at like a knife to his throat. And honestly, I love this part too. I love so much about these chapters, but I love this part too. As they're leaving, for a split second, Violet can see worry on her mom's face. Yeah. Which I just love any chance Rebecca had to humanize her. Big fan of that. Her mom insists that she had no idea what was happening here, that she was on Caldeer. She didn't know, but she got back as soon as she like caught wind. And she gives her an antidote for whatever was suppressing her signet. But Violet is very weary of her mother, which truthfully I understand. Yeah. She explains that, or she wants a moment alone with Violet, but Xaden's like, absolutely not. And then she just looks at Violet and she's like, you of all people should know what the lengths I would go to keep my daughter safe. Like, she's fine. 3 minutes.
I would argue the opposite, ma'am.
Well, we find out in the next few sentences why that's actually true. And Xaden knows all of this because Xaden we find out she calls in the favor with Xaden to protect her. Remember?
Yep.
So she allowed all the marked ones to come into the Writer's Quadrant instead of being killed.
If Xaden protected Violet.
Well, no, in turn for a favor that she'll call in on a later date. And then when she moved Violet into the Writer's Quadrant, she said you have to protect her outside of challenges and her own stupid naivete.
Yeah.
Like obviously he can't do anything about that, but as long as she made it across the parapet, he needed to ensure that no one else killed her really her first year. And I love how except I thought that was sweet. I didn't love though Violet. That kind of makes Violet like 180, and she says that Xaden never had a choice when it came to her because of this. But I actually 1000% disagree with that because sure, he might not have had a choice in killing her like he probably would have done if her mom didn't call in that favor. But he chose to love her.
Yeah.
Like he chose to do everything else outside of the initial protection. After that, everything was his own choice to do because he fell for her. So I was, other than like maybe the forced proximity kind of trope there is a little bit here, I disagree that he didn't have a choice. But that's I don't know. I know you said you agree. I don't know if you had any other thoughts on that.
No, I do. I think
we also learned
I would be alarmed that Xaden, like if it was me, I'd be alarmed that Xaden was forced to not kill me. But that's where my alarm would end. Like everything else, the friendship, falling in love, all that. That's all. That's all him. That's not. Yeah, I totally agree with you.
However, I guess thinking about it, Violet is just a girl, and it's very easy to jump to conclusions, especially when you're in a you don't want to assume the worst, but you've already kind of been like in weird spots with this guy, and he's
but if I may
already like not.
Violet's not a real. Okay, here we go. Violet's not a real girl. This was premeditated thoughts from an author writing this. So it's kind of like, why are we writing this? But you know what? I couldn't even write that on my best day. So I will let it slide.
I get it. Like, she isn't a real girl. She's a fake character. But Rebecca Yarros does a really, really good job.
She's trying to make her right. Yeah, like
a really realistic
relatable
situation.
Yes.
And it's very relatable. For how unrelatable the situation is, Violet and Xaden and their relationship and their arguments and everything are very relatable in my humble opinion. Yeah. So, I don't know. But we also learned in this conversation that that's why she moved Violet to being in the Writer's Quadrant initially, was because she knew that Violet would figure out what was going on if she was still under Markham's direction, and that Violet would not be okay with it. So she thought she was saving her by removing her from that situation and hopefully giving her, obviously she's putting her in more danger initially, but as a writer, she'd have
more opportunity.
She'd have a dragon. Yeah, she'd be stronger. She'd like all that stuff. So I don't know. I hated her mom in the beginning, but especially after this.
But I liked it. Yeah, you know what? Yeah.
I liked it.
And that's Sal.
Well, and then she also asked her mom about the marks on Xaden's back and if that was really her. I don't know if everyone else has a different opinion on this. I don't know why this is such a big deal to her or why she's so
I totally agree with you. I also
surprised
was like,
about
hey,
it.
Let's move on. Like, she had to do it. What do we think? She's not going to have to do it? She has to.
Well, and it's not even that. It's like, obviously she did it. I don't know why she needs her mom to confirm it. Like, she knows who her mom is. She knows what's been going on. Like, it's not a far stretch to assume that her mom really did this. So I don't know why it mattered to her for her to hear it from her mom.
Beats me.
I don't know. Maybe that's me just like not getting it, but
no, I totally agree with you. I also was like, okay,
but like at that point, that's when she's like, nope, I can't trust you. Like that's what did it. I'm like, all right, whatever. Yeah. But it's fine. I get it.
Once again, Violet's just a girl. We all have to just process her emotions.
That is true. So then, Violet says goodbye, or her mom says goodbye. She lets them go, which I don't know. I honestly though, I will say I did like how Violet's mom handled this whole situation. How she's like, I love you. You remind me so much of your dad.
Yeah.
You're all that's left of him, and that's what sparks her thought process. She's like, oh shoot, she still doesn't know that Brennan's alive.
Yeah.
And because she's mad about her mom for the marks on Xaden's back, she doesn't tell her.
I don't know if she should, even if she wasn't mad. Like, it's still not the time to tell her.
I don't know. I think she thinks this is the last time she's going to see her. Her mom just wanted to say goodbye. Like,
I personally don't think I could keep that secret from literally anyone. Even a stranger on the street. I'd be like, hey, guess what? So I don't relate to this.
I know.
I personally don't relate, but yeah.
I was hoping though that it was going to come back. Like she would keep this in her back pocket and use it at a time where it felt more, like worthy, like even more like of a bargaining chip, I guess.
Yeah.
So,
but maybe she also like she didn't tell Mira, so maybe she felt like this really isn't her secret to be telling as well.
Well, she didn't tell Mira because then she would have had to explain everything else. It's not because she didn't want to tell Mira. She had already tested the waters with the wyvern thing and realized Mira had no idea what she was talking about. So she's like, oh, I can't also be like, well, guess what? Arisha didn't burn and Brennan's alive. Even though she didn't believe
it's a lot to pack in.
A lot to... anyways, they go... they were about to leave. Xaden's like, get all the marked ones. Let's get out of here. But then Violet's like, no, we can't. We have to give everyone a choice. Otherwise, we're no better than Navarian leadership. Which is true. So then they call formation. Dane does his best. He tries to tell everyone. And
this is such an ick. Wait. Everyone wait. I
liked it.
Okay, so yesterday I saw a reel where this girl was talking about like, hey, if you need to get over a guy, picture them doing this. And some of the comments and everything contributed. But it was like a guy standing in line at a buffet, like in a buffet line with an empty plate, or getting on all fours to crawl into a booth, which is such an ick. But this was such an ick too. Dane calls formation and tries to like get everyone to pay attention, and he's just like, it's not happening. Like nobody respects him. Ew.
It's not that they don't respect him. He just like does such a bad job at convincing him. I loved it. I loved how cringy it was.
It's so
You're right.
Cringy.
It was such an ick, but like I think I'm picturing it like a movie in my head.
Yeah.
So I'm picturing it Dane like being like, and that's why we fight. And then everyone's just like, what is this guy talking about?
Oh god.
And then Xaden does what he does best and convinces everyone just because of who he is. And then the professors come. Oh my gosh. I love this part because Carr came and he was pissed, which I was kind of sad because I didn't like how Carr let Varish push her around as much, but
he had to be defensive, like side-ish during that. So,
I mean, like he didn't want her to die, like which doesn't. I feel like that's like the basic of decency, but I don't know. He just wasn't. There was other people I hated more. Carr was kind of indifferent. I was just hoping that all the professors were going to come around. But Devera was who we all hoped and prayed she was, and who Violet knew she was deep down. But I like how this is also where we find out that it was her that put the quote unquote propaganda on the sheets, on the desks.
Yeah.
And during battle brief. And I'm like, yes, this is her. Because I honestly, again, I've moved on. I kind of forgot that it had happened. And I loved that it was someone that wasn't just a student that was trying to, in her own way, tell everyone you're being fooled.
Yeah.
But like, it makes sense that she couldn't do anything about it because she didn't know about the revolution. And what's one person going to do? So I liked it. She's able to communicate with Tairn again because she did take the antidote that her mom gave her. So finally, Tairn's back in the picture. Which I missed him.
This next part, how she tells Tairn to share the memory of Resin with all the other dragons so the dragons can share them with the riders if they choose to. He has done this a couple times now, and every time he throws a fit and he's like, this is so inappropriate. I don't like, this is not how things should happen. And yet he does it every time. And I just kind of feel like Maybe I don't know. This is me. I'm always like judgy, but maybe let's leave that out. Like, let's just say it's okay. Like, if you're going to do it anyways,
Yeah.
why put up a little, like, why write the extra 2 sentences to put up a fight? Why not just do it? That's just
Maybe,
me.
I don't know, maybe so we don't get in the habit of assuming it's going to happen. I don't know.
That's true.
I am with you. I mean, again, Enneagram 8, I could argue anything, really. So,
Yeah.
I see your point. Now that you mentioned it, yeah! No, I'm just kidding. But, I also liked, too, how she asked what the Empyrean decided and how they said it would just be up to each individual dragon whether they want to stay or go.
I have a theory on the Empyrean. You want to hear it?
Yes.
I think it's Tairn. I think that I know there's probably a couple dragons in there, but because they always I think he's so, even as like highly regarded as he is in the books, I still think he's underrated. Like we're not seeing his full potential.
We still haven't gotten full,
Yeah. I think they obviously say he's like one of the oldest not oldest, but like one of the largest dragons. And he's so highly revered amongst all the other dragons. They don't dare come near him or test him. I think
Coda
he might be.
It's the only dragon that's bigger.
And he was the one who was like so attached to Andarna, and she was breaking a lot of rules, but he was like, hey, you know what? Like, we love her anyways. So I wonder if he has a lot more authority. Mm-hmm.
Well, because I think the way that the Empyrean has been explained, it feels a lot like the Assembly in Arisha, where it's not just like one dragon to rule them all.
From every.
Yeah, so you're right. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if we found out that he's on the board of the Empyrean, the leadership board.
He makes some board decisions. Yeah,
he's a board member. He knows. He has some pull.
he has some stake in the game.
Yeah. So I guess I hadn't thought about that. That's true. Well, but then the Empyrean, like I said, they decide to let every dragon choose for themselves, and I like that if the dragon wanted to stay, they just like didn't show the rider. So this kind of this is a weird parallel, but it kind of reminded me of in the Bible the Tower of Babel, when everyone just started speaking different languages, how some people like, what are you talking about, because their dragon didn't show it to them, and then mass chaos ensues again because some people are like, what are you talking about? And other people are like, it's real. But like, if your dragon didn't show that to you, and some people are just like now like starting to scream, oh my gosh, I believe you, it's real. Like, they would look like they're on crack. Like, if you think about it.
Yeah.
As I said, comparison.
I'm making the parallel in my mind, and I loosely understand. But yeah.
Anyways, it was just funny. I just imagine so much. I imagine this scene is like in SpongeBob, where he tries to be the ultimate waiter and forgets everything, but then someone asks what his name is, and like
chaos.
His mind SpongeBobs are running around like, what's my name? Like, everything's on fire. The file cabinets are falling over.
I'm just the way my life has gone thus far, I really believe that if I was in this book, I would be one of the ones who the dragon chose not to tell, and I'd be like, hey, what gives? And I just feel like so gypped of that decision. And like, hey, like going up to the next person, hey, what's happening? What's happening? And then not.
You mean you didn't know?
Me. Yeah.
And then having my dragon, whose name I probably can't pronounce, be like, really? Show me.
No.
What is happening? Why do they all get to see it and I don't?
I know. So.
But yes, at the end of the day, 200 dragons and 101 riders start flying to Arisha. And I like that Violet's entire squad made the choice. Well, I guess their dragons made the choice to go.
Yeah.
Probably because I'd be like, your theory of Tairn. Yeah. True. And then Brennan meets Xaden when they land and at Ryerson House, and they sees the condition. I like how he's like, why do you always bring my sister to me half dead? He like makes that comment, and it just made me chuckle because 2 times now that's happened. But then as they're doing that, he sees the rest of the riot flying over, and he's like, what have you done? Like, what is happening? And then that's how that chapter ends. Chapter 37, which is also the beginning of part 2, of this book. To me, this is where things just get wild, even more wild.
I remember you tell me when you get to part 2, because that's when it gets really good. And I was already like, it's pretty dang good.
Much, it is, but pretty much from like part 2 through the end of the book, like I couldn't put it down. And every emotion, anger, tears, literal, I was hysterically crying at one point reading this part, like part 2.
That's
Insane.
crazy.
But this part opens up with, again, another very realistic dream with the sage and Violet. And this is my third theory on what her signet could be. Because it doesn't even feel like the sage is responding to where she physically is. The sage is responding to her thoughts. The sage is responding to, like, it doesn't feel like a dream. It feels, because, like, even Violet is like, is this a dream? And the sage is like, don't be stupid. Like, you know what is happening here. Loosely. I'm loosely translating what happened. But I don't know. It just, if it's not talking to the dead specifically, this is where I'm like, I don't know. Like, I don't want to get tripped up on the whole, like, only talking to the dead. If it's like she can astral project herself, but like her mind, not just her physical, like Quinn can astral project so people think they see her walking somewhere where she's not. I'm wondering if she can astral project, but it's more like her consciousness, and it can transcend death and life. So like that doesn't necessarily have to do with how she could see Liam, but like, I don't know, something. I haven't worked through all the kinks, but something along those lines is my second strongest theory with her, what her signet is.
Maybe.
And here's another reason. Okay, you know what? As I'm talking, oh my gosh, Ellie, as I'm talking about this, I'm having a mind blown epiphany.
Hey there.
This used to be my second strongest. Now this is my favorite signet, and here's why. Andarna's power as a Feathertail was that she could stop time.
Yes.
So I'm thinking that might translate to what her signet could end up being. Because I know it's not Andarna's power, but she's pulling power from Andarna for her second signet. So if Andarna could stop time, this could be like she could transcend time and life for being able to communicate. It sounded better in my head than when I'm saying it out loud. But are you tracking with me?
Not really.
Oh, Ellie.
She can.
Time.
Say it better.
Time knows. I can't. I'm too amped up. Time knows no bounds. Andarna's power was that she could stop time.
Yeah.
That might correlate into Violet's second signet. In this case, now there's 2 instances now, just in the last couple chapters, where she's had full-on conversations with people that she physically wasn't with. They play it out as like, oh, it was just her subconscious pretending Liam was there, and this is, oh, it's just a dream. I'm not buying it. These are actual conversations that are actually happening with 2 people
100%.
that are not physically with her. So she's
agree.
transcending, and because one of them's dead and the other one is not even human because he's Venin, that's where the transcending time kind of plays in, because time, space, bound, knows no limits for how her consciousness and how she can communicate,
so you're telling
astral project.
She can talk to the dead.
And those who are not dead.
Okay.
That's what I'm telling you.
That's a lot better. In layman's terms, she can talk to whoever she wants in her mind.
You're making it sound so much less cool than how I'm imagining it. But yes, I guess layman's terms.
I enjoy the enthusiasm. I think I agree. So then Brennan mends Violet and she's reunited with her squad. No, I do agree though, they're not just dreams. I know you wrote in here, I will die on that hill. I will die there with you. 100% these are not just dreams. I could not agree more.
I guess
so then Brennan mends Violet.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm really disappointed that you're not meeting my enthusiasm here.
I just feel like yes. So then Xaden and Violet go to an assembly meeting to talk over what's happening. And would you like to pick up?
I haven't fully recovered yet.
All right.
I have recovered. I remember what happened. So then they're holding hands. I like how cute this was. Felix specifically, makes a comment about how it's like, well, yeah, we know why she's here, and kind of looks at their hands. And because she's just a girl, Violet gets embarrassed and pulls her hand away. And Xaden audibly sighs and grabs her hand again. And
That's so cute.
It's these little moments that make the main male characters written by females for me. So because good. This is what, I guess not everyone, I can't speak for everyone, but I can speak for myself. This is what we want in real life. We want someone who is unafraid to talk about or show their affection for us. We want someone who's gonna hold our hand,
but like in a manly way. Don't just be like icky and like I love you so much, baby. That's not what we're saying.
That's not what we're saying, and that's not what Xaden is doing. He is putting his foot down and showing everyone she's mine. And again, not about possessive controlness is making up words in real life or in real life. But in books, all about it.
Yes.
Big fan.
So then while they're all talking, guess who wakes up?
Finally.
It's Andarna. I've missed her so much.
We got like almost zero Andarna this book.
I know. I missed her so much, and I'm so happy she's finally awake.
So chapter 38 is her waking up and being snarky as ever. I know. I was like, Andarna was kind of whatever for me. I liked her. Don't get me wrong. She was super cute. I really appreciated her. But this is where I start to love Andarna because she is snarky as heck and it's just has an opinion on everything and tells it to you like it is. And I like it because Tairn kind of does the same thing, but in a different, more of a grumpy, broody way.
Yeah.
And I like that hers is like sarcastic, young, adolescent, very much so way. Yeah. And because she is an adolescent now.
She's a little teen. And she's also 2/3 the size of Sorrengail, which is, I do agree with you. You wrote this, but it does feel like it's the size of all the other full-grown dragons. I wonder if she's going to keep growing to be even bigger, but I feel like, okay, so you're dragon size now, like normal dragon size.
But I just feel like Violet's like, oh, you're so much bigger. But like, not like, you're if she's 2/3 the size of Sorrengail, Sorrengail's a lot bigger than all the other dragons. We've established that. But if she's 2/3 bigger or the size of Sorrengail, she has to even be bigger than some of these other full-grown dragons. And I feel like the way Violet's like, oh, wow, Andarna, you've grown. And like, that's that. It's not like, Andarna, are you an adult? You are bigger than my sister's dragon. Like, what is happening? I don't know. Yeah. I just feel like it was very pushed under the rug how big that 2/3 of Sorrengail actually is.
Yeah.
And I just feel like I needed to talk about that. That's all.
Well,
and this is actually plays into, again, of your theory of Tairn being part of the Empryean because he knows everything that's happened. So why don't you talk about this part, because that's your theory and you should do the honors.
So, thank you. Tairn tells Violet what happens with Andarna's growth, and this broke my heart, and says it was all too fast from the energy that she spent in Resin, which I had a thought on this too. Like, according to the boundaries that Rebecca wrote on Andarna and how she spent her energy, I feel like we could have gotten a little bit more bang for the buck. She only stopped time twice, maybe 3 times, I think, actually. In the grand scheme of things.
No, I think it was...
That would have come in so much more handy had we been like, quick, Andarna! And I like that, like, we knew, this is a rare gift. We can't use it all the time, but I wish we could have used it more before it was completely gone.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying on that.
I agree.
But
she's just a baby. I love Fred Armisen.
I know. It's just a baby. I can play with blocks.
Yeah.
So Tairn tells Violet that he believes that she'll fly, but she'll never bear a rider. She won't ever be strong enough to bear a rider, which I call BS on that. I mean, I know it's true in the moment, but I think Andarna will bear a rider.
That instantly, 100%, because they specifically say she's not going to. Yeah. Immediately, and I'm like, all right, I can't wait for Violet to ride her. Like, this is going to happen.
Oh, and what a great moment that's going to be for Violet to finally ride Andarna for the first time.
And for both of them.
Yeah.
I know.
Love it. And so then finally they have their battle brief with Devara and Brennan, who lets them know that Navarre still has no idea what's happening, which is insane because the Wyvern were dropped all around. I would think that they'd have to know.
No, so they're saying the civilians have no idea what's happening. At this point, all the riders and infantry, like they are,
to me, Navarre
they
is
know.
Vizcaya, so that makes sense. Okay.
Yes. But like the citizens are still clueless, which is absolutely so crazy to me that they're still trying to pretend like nothing's wrong.
I know.
I don't know.
I
get it, but nuts. I don't get it.
Then during battle brief, Tairn tells Violet that a riot is approaching. I was nervous. Were you nervous?
I don't think I was. I think I was still so shocked by everything that was happening that it was like,
that's fair.
Just keep piling it on at this point.
Just hit me again. So then Violet runs outside to see what riot is approaching and I think she was kind of like planning, how are we going to battle this? This is going to be insane. But it turns out Mira is the one leading the riot. And this is where you ate your own words from Fourth Wing Part 2. Yes, the episode I did, where you thought, go ahead.
I mentioned it not too long ago. I'm terrible at predicting of what I think is going to happen. And I really thought that Mira was going to choose Navarre and her duty over her family and over Violet. And I didn't think it was going to be an easy decision, but I really did think that she was going to fight with Navarre.
So fair, though. I would have. I think I did agree with you for that. I did think it was going to be way more of a battle. But
I'm really glad that she didn't.
Me too.
I'm glad that she saw like what Xaden did and like listened to Xaden and came there, because she did. She came there because of Xaden. Otherwise, she even says to Violet, how else would I have known to find you if it wasn't like, if he didn't tell us, which is so true. I literally didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
But I'm glad she did. And I'm glad I was wrong, but I was so wrong. So there's my Melissa messed up from a few episodes ago.
I don't think it counts if it's a theory, but I'll allow it.
I was wrong.
So then Mira tells them that Melgren and her mom let everyone decide if they were going to stay or go, saying that it's better than them staying and talking more people into leaving or leaking information. But Violet feels weird about that. Did you feel weird about that?
Yes, because I'm like, not from Violet's mom. I after everything that happened with her mom, like in the stairwell, I genuinely believe that her mom would have let anyone do that, because I really feel like her mom is so internally conflicted. Maybe it's more her mom, like her mom genuinely wants what's best for her kids, and I know she cares about her kids more than anyone else, so maybe she wouldn't do that with random people, but with the grace and everything that she's shown Violet throughout this book and understanding, I feel I just wouldn't be surprised if her mom did that. But fat chance Melgren is gonna like just let he's already lost half the cadets. Like, there's no way he's just gonna be like, okay, cool, do I want more of my riders to leave me too? No way. I don't know how it's gonna come back to bite him. I don't know, maybe put like a tracker on them and now he knows where they're at or something. I don't know.
That's what I thought, is that like one of them is gonna go back and spill the beans. But then Mira sees her brother for the first time. Shock and awe everywhere. He opens his arms for a loving embrace, and Mira runs up to him and freaking punches him in the face. Oh, that rhymed.
There, nice. Yeah. Genuinely, what did Brennan expect with both of them? This happened with Violet the first time too. She didn't clock him, but like, she was not thrilled that he had been lying to her. So again, why did he think round 2 with his more opinionated, stronger sister would this go over well? He was literally like, Mira, literally like smiling, going in for a hug. How dumb is he to think that that's gonna happen? Genuinely.
Bless his heart.
Bless his heart, but he's so dumb.
So dumb. Then Mira lays into Brennan for lying about being dead. Yeah. We don't blame her for that. Violet tells her siblings and Xaden that she needs the blood of the... So Violet thinks she found out how to raise the wards. She says she needs the blood of the 6 most powerful riders to get the wards up and running. And that was after translating Warwick's journal. Yeah. So 9 people go to the ward stone in order to get it up and running. Violet says the 6 most powerful are herself, Xaden, Brennan, Bodhi, Suri, and Felix. Who's Suri and Felix? We have no idea. You probably do.
No, they're part of the assembly. They're part of the assembly.
They have to put their...
I don't know why. I don't know, maybe... I think I I know I said that Violet said this in the outline. I think I messed up. I think Brennan is kind of, I think they all like came to general consensus that these were the strongest 6. I don't know why Bodhi is included in this, honestly. Like, I don't feel like we've gotten enough from him to know how strong he is. I don't even know Bodhi's
signet. I don't know any.
Kind of we actually didn't talk about that, but they did talk about it when because when all the professors came in right before they left Bezgaeth, Carr tried to kill Xaden because he's like, you're fine, but like I just can't handle you causing all this chaos and like trying to persuade people to leave. And Bodhi steps in and his signet is countering other people's signets. So I think Carr's is like fire or something, and then Bodhi steps in and the fire's just gone. Like, so I get it. I guess that's like probably not a super common signet, but I don't know. I guess it doesn't matter. Like, it is what it is.
Okay, so they find out, or they have to put their blood on the ward stone. And this, to me, gave me a Pirates of the Caribbean flashback. Do you remember when Elizabeth Swann has to spill her blood on the last missing coin? They toss it back into the treasure chest. And she's like thinking that they're going to slice her throat to get all the blood. And they just give her a little cut on the hand. And then she drops it. And she literally says, "That's it." That's what I thought of this. I was like, that's it?
I didn't think about that because I knew that they weren't going to like have to kill them because the original 6 didn't die.
Right. No, I didn't think they'd have to kill them, but I thought it was very simple.
Exactly. Yeah. And I'm like, wasn't at all surprised when it didn't work. I didn't know what I thought it was going to be, but I was not surprised. It felt too easy. And I'm like, we're only barely into the second part 2. Like,
my little critique for this chapter was like, if you really wanted us to be convinced that this was going to be the one that worked and be actually shocked that it didn't, I feel like there could have been a lot more buildup and writing around the fact that we were certain and we came through all these breakthroughs to figure this out. But agreed. I feel like that might have left me more disappointed and frustrated with the book. So it's a delicate balance for me, at least.
Yeah, that's true.
Do you think you would have been as hard on yourself as Violet was if you were in her position after failing to raise the wards?
I think so. And I think I think for her, part of it is embarrassment, but most of it is just feeling like she fails everyone. For me, it would be more of embarrassment. Like, wow, I just dragged these people who already don't like me, convinced them that I translated this journal from a dead language, and made them cut their hands and all of us stick our blood on this rock and nothing happened. So that's
You took the words right out of my mouth, my friend. It's exactly how I felt. So then Violet after...
But not...
Yes, what?
Oh, sorry. I was just repeating myself. Like, yes, but not for the same reasons that Violet was.
Yeah. So Violet, after feeling defeated with the ward stone, decided she can control if they get to the luminary, or if they get the luminary or not, by going to Viscount Takara. So she's kind of like, if I can't do this, I can do something.
Yes.
Which I thought was not wise, but to each their own.
I was kind of excited about it. I think it was stupid? Yes. But I'm like, there's no way. I didn't think for 1 second she was going to die. So I was like, well, let's just see how this plays out then. Because no one except for Xaden seems to think that this guy's as much of a threat as Xaden does. So is Xaden really just being that overprotective, or is Xaden the only one, which I was leaning more towards Xaden as obviously the only one who is thinking clearly, but it also very well could have been easily written off that he was just being overprotective because he loves her. So I was like, I could see it going either way.
Yeah. She has her first training with Felix. Finally, also this is chapter 40. We're starting chapter 40. She has her first training with Felix, where she learns that every second she ever spent with Carr was an absolute waste of time, which I could have told you that. Any of us could have told you that. But I was like, finally, some real training. She needs to hone it in.
Yes. And I just, like, Felix was flabbergasted that Carr never had her try and aim or anything like that. And, like, genuinely, I am too. Or I did not think about it.
And me too.
I didn't think about it at all when she had her couple training sessions with Carr. But, like, if they really were just looking at her like a weapon, don't you think they'd want her to be as effective as possible? I get it. There hadn't been a lightning wielder in centuries, and so it's not a signet where it's as much as known about how to train a But like, why do you think just getting her to be able to strike over and over and over again in an hour is like the best way to start? I don't know.
No, it wasn't the move.
I would think that like being accurate is way more important than just being able to strike a bunch.
Yeah. So, she can't aim. She hasn't learned how to do smaller strikes. She has no control. So then Felix gives her a conduit to help control her power. I had a really hard time envisioning the conduit. I know it was like a little glass ball, but it was hard for me to just understand how she was channeling energy into it and how she was drawing energy out of it. It was very confusing for me.
I'm not going to lie. I started to get, I agree. I think it did maybe start here. Because I'm like, why wouldn't they have given her a conduit in Besgai? Then I get it. They don't want to like, they want her to be a weapon and they don't want her to like have any power like restricted. But again, just from like a training standpoint, it's easier to start small and work your way up than it is just start bit. I don't know. So I was a little bit confused by that too. But I also got really confused. They start talking about runes here. And Violet is even confused by the rune. And I'm glad that it was addressed because this entire book, anytime they talk about a rune, I'm like, what is that? Like, I have no idea. And I don't, but I haven't said anything and I haven't asked because I'm nervous that I'm stupid and just, it's like so obvious what a rune is and I just don't know. Yeah. But then when Violet was confused about it, I felt so justified in not understanding what a rune was. So I literally had to Google it. And I still was only slightly less confused.
I'm the same. Like, they obviously go into runes a lot more in the next chapters and what that means, but
and I'm genuinely hoping.
It's still just kind of hard to wrap my mind around the fact that, okay, we didn't know any of this in Biscayeth, and now it just felt like add-ons to me. But that's me.
Well, I'm really hoping that reading through this again is I'm able to like understand it more because I was so confused the first time. Yeah. And because I'm reading these as I write the outline, so like I've only reread through chapter 40 at this point. Yeah. But I don't know. I'm hoping that it gives a little bit more clarity because
So, but then after her lesson with Felix, Mira, Brennan, and Violet sneak away to go to Chaldear and see Viscount Takaris in order to get the luminary against Xaden's wishes. Or orders. Yes. I don't know what we're calling those.
I mean, I think it was pretty...
It was orders.
Pretty much ordering them, yeah.
So after arriving, and I love how they describe Chaldear. You need to read Glass a lot. So there's a lot of similarities. But after arriving and being escorted by the flyers, Xaden is already there and waiting. And that is where we leave off this episode.
I was like, how the heck did he know? Like, what on God's green earth gave him any inkling that she was about to do a secret stealth mission with her brother and sister to go do the thing that he told her not to do? I mean, I just felt like she made up her mind so quickly and just did it. It wasn't like, oh, she'd been planning this for weeks, so there's time for Xaden to have caught wind about it. You know what I mean? I don't know. That's how I felt. And I love that that's, again, I guess some borderline cliffhanger that this episode ends on. Just a little baby. I feel like that's the other theme for this episode.
But I love these chapters. They were good.
I love. And then the rest of the book, man.
Yeah. It just gets better. Good. If you think it's good now, it just gets better. All right, what chapters are we doing next pod?
I will correct myself if this is wrong, but I'm fairly certain that we have it just 10 each, so it should be 41 through 50.
Love it.
But, yep. And that's that. So I hope everyone has a great rest of your week. Like, subscribe, review the podcast if you're into it, tell your friends. And I feel like I'm missing something. Am I missing anything? No? This is it.
Leave a comment.
Yeah. All right, cool.
Have a great week, everybody.
And after that awkward sign off, have a great rest of your week. And bye from Ellie's dogs.
And bye from the dogs.